Right, here we are again. So, got the X-Maxx, and I've fitted a little diff cover at the back and some GPM out drives, out, you know, whatever they are, reinforced out drives. I think I've only done that on the back. Let's have a look. Yeah, front ones are still stock, but there's a little bit of wear, but nothing major on the front. It seems to be the rear ones that get the most wear. So yeah, metal diff covers, what a start. So yeah, metal diff covers, I don't think I've done anything else to it, if I'm honest. I should have watched my last video. I've not had it here since the last video with this. So normally, what you watch on here is the only time I ever take them out, if that makes sense. So I don't really ever take them out without a camera strapped to my head. So you pretty much see everything that I do, you see. So this is running 2046. So it's quite high geared. Stock ESC, stock motor. Stock tyres. Upgraded servo. It's got the second strongest servo, which I think is standard in an Ultimate. That's what this has got. And I've messed around with, I suppose, the motor mount, if that's what you call it. I've messed about with the system, you know, the cush system. I've added the extra bearing, I've done the GPM extra bearing thing, where it sort of floats, so that's a bit more secure. Basically to try and stop it from stripping gears. It's got hardened gears, obviously. But yeah, quite a lot of work to try and stop it from stripping gears, which I think I'm about there. I've not done that for a while, I don't think. Can't remember stripping a gear for a while anyway. Got hardened arms. upper and lower hardened arms. Goes quite fast, doesn't it? It's got rocket fans on the motor, so that should keep it cool. But yeah, she's a beast. She's a beast. Do you know what? I'm getting something like this is sticking. Ever so strange. It's like there's grit in it. It feels horrible. So every now and then I can't quite correct. I need to have a look at that. I think I might have just cleaned up the gears as well. Maybe put some new bearings on it, I seem to remember. It's about a month since I've had it out. It's hard to remember what you do. One thing I did, I put a somebody was selling like hardened cut, like reinforced cush. I don't know what they were, like, you know, the cush drive, which is like a bit of polymer that goes in the gearing. Well, this one's got a hardened one, like somebody's obviously 3D printed one, so it's like a slightly harder rubber. I think the idea being that it's less soft, so probably a bit more direct. So you've not bypassed it. It's still there, but it's not as rubbery. It was more of a hard. I think the standard one's like black plastic, like a black rubber. This was more like a red hardened plastic. That's better. This thing's monstrous. So I brought this out because I loved the Notorious so much yesterday that I just thought, you know what? I've not brought this out for a while. Let's have a go. And I tell you what. That would have been good, wouldn't it? And I tell you what. This thing's awesome. So it's this and the Notorious. These are the ones. Let's try that again. There we go. This is normal tyres. I don't think you could do this on, well, you certainly couldn't do it on anything with belts. It would not like that one bit. The other thing I don't know, I can't remember, is what I've done with the shocks. I think the shock weight, is 80 on these. I think I changed it when I took it to a BMX track, what feels like years ago. But I've never done anything to them since. And I've never changed the springs either. The springs are stock. So I've not done it with them. Springs are stock. Check everything's all clipped in. It is, yeah. Just had a disconnect then, that was all. Ugh. Always forget to turn it on. And then I always forget where the button is. There it is. So, stock suspension. Stock suspension does alright, doesn't it? And it's had, just in that little, 10-15 minutes, it's had some absolutely awful landings. If you watch, I mean, like that, look. I mean, if you watch that back, I've done some absolutely awful hits. And it just bounces off. I said the biggest problem with this was always the gearing, and it was always stripping spurs. Once you've nailed that, then it's super solid. It's always the gears. I've shimmed the diffs because they were clicking once, but I don't think I've ever done a diff on this. That was silly. I've never done a diff. From what I can remember, certainly not like, oh God. Yeah, certainly nothing I can remember. Like, so it's like it's not a common thing for me to do the diff. It's always just been the gears. Once you suss the gears, I'll tell you one of the things I did that really helped was just replacing that cheap plastic mount that goes underneath the motor, the one that the little pegs locate into. That made a big difference, that did. So if you're watching this and you are running stock, in the UK, the little plastic motor mount that sort of cradles the engine, cradles the motor, it's about £8 in Britain for one of them, and mine had worn just from use. Like, obviously it doesn't see any, you know, doesn't rub on anything or anything like that, but it had just become worn from being driven, and replacing that which was relatively quick and easy, made a real big difference. So didn't put metal on it or anything like that, just used the plastic one, but just bought a new stock lower mount. Happy days, everything meshed, everything worked a treat. So after about a year, I would recommend swapping it for another plastic one. Yeah, that was a good upgrade. Well, not an upgrade. A good repair, that was. It cost nothing and it worked a treat. So there you go, little tip. I ought to really solder these connections, but I'm too lazy. Get some good run time out of these batteries. I think they're 8,500 mAh. 8,500 mAh ones, but they are high voltage. But I read somewhere that I can charge them to high voltage, but apparently the ESC and the servos aren't designed to take high voltage. The Traxxas stuff doesn't like the extra volts. I'm no electrician, so I don't actually know what any of that means, but basically you're kind of overpowering some of the stock electrics. Watching these dog people. So yeah, overpowering the electrics, which is probably the last thing you want to be doing with Traxxas electrics, which everyone says are crap. I did have an issue early on with my ESC. I think probably within the first month, and I sent it back to Wheelspin and they sorted it for me. Good as gold. Since then, never had anything. And I honestly don't see why you'd perhaps swap the motor, because the motor seems to be plenty powerful enough. And the ESC. Perfect. But if it goes, I'll put a Max 6 in it. Ah, you bugger. Oh. But if it doesn't go, I won't. Or if I could get a cheap Traxxas one, a cheap VXL 8S, I'd probably just put a stock one back in it. Got hit in the face then by a rock. Luckily, I've got 4 eyes. Oh, I was just about to say, we'll call it quits. Look what's happened. Poor tyre. Oh, I'm just about to stop then as well, you know. I was just doing like a little last hurrah. And I've done a tyre, look. Bugger. Oh well. Not the end of the world. I've had some of these tyres a while. It's hard to know. Sometimes I struggle to keep track of how long I've had them. They kind of go dead soft when you've had them a while. Quite good foam. Quite dense. But yeah, they kind of go a bit, the rubber goes soft. That's how I can sort of tell if I've had them a while, because they kind of go really, really squidgy. I never wear them out. They never go below the legal limit. Yeah, they never go below the legal limit. They always shred on me before that happens. Not like on my Vortex. I used to wear them out. They used to go like flat, like racing slicks. But these ones, no, they tend to blow off before they wear out. Well, that was awesome. Hope you enjoyed it. No breakages, some horrendous crashes, some good landings and stuff. So yeah, that was ace. Successful mission. I've lowered the ramp. I don't know if anyone's noticed really, but I've lowered the ramp angle so it's not as vertical. So I'm using the sand, so I'm trying to use the sand to change the angle whilst keeping it a little bit more forgiving, if that makes sense. It's a bit of a less of an acute angle, I guess. I don't know, but it seems to go all right, get good distance. Got the New Balance on. It's freezing cold. I'm dressed like in shirts and a t-shirt. It's about 6 degrees. I misjudged it terribly, but it is lovely. Cows there, look, that you can't see, but there is cows there, honest. And yeah, mega. See you later. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, delete. Let me try and turn this off.